everyone, welcome to another Thursday Tips and Tricks. Today we're going to work our way through one of our latest BlockBuster designs called Sparkler. This block is a BlockBuster free block that you can download from our Facebook page. It's a block that requires two of our tools. It requires the Tucker Trimmer tool, that's the Tucker Trimmer 1, as well as the corner pop tool. And there's a couple of other things you're going to want to have handy when you're working your way through making one of these blocks. You're going to want to have your Quilter's Magic Wand, marking tools. You're going to want to, which is what I always do, print off my BlockBuster instructions. And you're also going to want to have the instructions, especially the charts associated with both the Tucker Trimmer and the corner pop tool. So once you have all those at your disposal, it's time to get started. One of the things that I do whenever I'm making blocks I'll do a test run for a couple of reasons. It allows me to test fabrics, it allows me to test sizes, and so behind me you see a couple of ones. The first block I made was a 9-inch block, really pretty, sparkle, used some of my favorite sparkly fabric, and it turned out great. But it was a little too small. I wanted to make something a little bigger. And this BlockBuster design actually has 3 sizes in it: a 6-inch, a 9-inch, and a 12-inch. So I jumped to the 12-inch size, tried another grouping of fabrics. Not very successful with this one. This Grinch fabric is very directional, and it was a problem and too busy for the project. So I settled on these fabrics here. And when I do these experimental blocks, I'll test different pressing orders and pressing directions, but once I finally settle on what it is I want to make, I always use little snippets of the fabric to identify which pieces are being cut out of which fabric. I do this a lot with all of my different designs. So let's go ahead and get started. When you look at the exploded version of the block, there are basically only 3 shapes that you need to make. In the middle, we have a pinwheel block, and that's made with half square triangles. In the corners, we have single pop units, and on the north and south and the east and west, we have double pop units. So we're going to work our way through how we build those shapes. We'll start with those half square triangles. Super simple. That's where I'm going to be using the Tucker Trimmer tool. And when I consult the BlockBuster set of instructions, it's going to tell me for the size block I want to make, 12-inch, what size half square triangles I need to be able to build that. It doesn't tell me, however, what size squares I need to cut. So how do I proceed? Well, the BlockBuster tells me that these units need to be 2 inches when they're finished, but it doesn't tell me the beginning steps. Consult the Tucker Trimmer chart. That's why those are on there. For a 2-inch finish, the chart will immediately tell me what size squares I need to start with. In this case, it happens to be 3 inches, and I work my way through the half square triangle construction, cutting them, positioning them, marking them, stitching on the marked lines, cutting down the middle, giving them a press, and trimming them down. I'm going to recommend that you hold off on building these until we've discussed some issues that you might incur later on here. So that made perfect sense. That's pretty easy. Now the same thing, we're going to do the same thing with the corner pop instructions. To make those corner sections that are the single pop, when we look at the BlockBuster instructions, for the 12-inch size, it will tell me what size base square I need to cut, and that happens to be a 4.5-inch square. And then below it, it's going to tell me what size corner pop is going to go onto this shape. And it's going to be a 2-inch finished. And that's great because that's the cutaway size, and that's easy to know. And if you're not familiar with the tool and how it works, you're going to want to visit our online video for that. But when I look at the corner pop chart for that 2-inch finished replacement triangle, right below it, it has the information that I need for what size square to cut for those replacement triangles. The BlockBuster gives me the size of the unit and the size of the chart, but all those other cutting information is contained in the tool instructions. And working through these oversized triangles are positioned and stitched with the base. They're pressed, and then once they're pressed, trimmed down to create a perfect size unit to be able to build the 12-inch block that I decided I wanted to make. Now when you go to the double pop section, it's kind of the same, just a little bit different. When you look at the BlockBuster set of instructions, it will tell you the base square is 4.5 inches. It will tell you that the cutaway is the 3-inch finished cutaway size, and that's the cutaway size that you use on the tool. And then the chart from my tool instructions says that for 3 inches, what size square I need to cut to create the replacement triangles that when I stitch them on, give them a press, and trim them down, I'm going to have a little bit of overhang and trim those to exactly the right size. Now, once you've got that first pop on there, this is where I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning. You can either pop this corner or this corner and still be right next to the first pop that's on there. And actually, I thought I knew what I was doing, and I popped the incorrect corner the first time I made this block. And this block up here is actually a mirror image of what I wanted. So use my mistake as a precaution. When you're doing a second pop, make sure you're popping the corner that you definitely want to have popped. And what size is that? Well, the BlockBuster tells me it's 2 inches. That's the cutaway size. That's what I use there. The chart will tell me the replacement triangle size. That's the square that's going to give me that oversized. I'm going to stitch it. I'm going to press it. And I'm going to trim it down to create that double popped unit that's exactly the right size for building the block. And of course, when you go to construct then, it's pretty easy. It's essentially a 9-patch. Now remember when I was talking about those pinwheels? I didn't want you to sew them together right out of the starting gate because there's 2 ways you can position those pinwheels. You can position them the way that the block is designed so that the green matches the green and the red matches the red and gives you the look that you desire. Or you can actually create your pinwheels by turning those 4 blocks around to create a pinwheel that looks like a pinwheel, but it's going in an incorrect direction. So that's my second word of warning. Make sure that you carefully align those half square triangle blocks to give you the pinwheel that's going to match the colors that are in your block. And you know, this block is so charming. It was fun to make. If you've not used the corner pop tool, you're going to love it. If you haven't used it for a while and you need a refresher on the tool and the parts of the tool and where the cutaway lines are and that stuff, visit our website and watch those video tutorials. But I know my grandson needs a quilt for his second Christmas, so I've got some sewing to do. I'm going to be putting these blocks together into a charming little quilt for him, and I hope you do the same. Remember these BlockBusters? This is available on our Facebook page, as well as the past 50 plus projects or 50 plus designs that are in our library. So take care, everybody. Enjoy your BlockBuster, and I'll see you next Thursday.